Breaking news, there it is. The Philadelphia Eagles have their new offensive coordinator. They are hiring Packers quarterbacks coach Sean Mannion to replace Kevin Patullo. And we've been talking about Sean Mannion all throughout this week right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. You're watching Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. As always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And let's react to this breaking news here. Adam Schefter breaking it just moments ago on this Thursday afternoon on this January 29th. According to sources, Eagles are hiring Packers quarterbacks coach Sean Mannion as their offensive coordinator. He interviewed twice for the Eagles OC job, and now he'll be moving on from Green Bay. The Eagles making it official on their X page, putting this graphic out on social media. And then Nick Sirianni, right as we're about to hit record on this video, releasing a statement. And I'll read you what the Eagles head coach said here. And this is a coach who's won 70% of his games. The Eagles have made it to the playoffs 5 straight years. They've won double-digit games in 4 consecutive seasons. He's been at 2 Super Bowls and he's won a ring. And when the Eagles have had a good offensive coordinator, they've been really good. And there's nothing wrong with being a CEO head coach. Look no further than Mike Vrabel, who will be coaching for a Super Bowl with the Patriots in 2 Sundays. Sirianni, quote, "I'm thrilled to have Sean Mannion on board as the new offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. My goal throughout this process was to operate with an open mind regarding the future of our offense to find the best fit for the Eagles. Over the last few weeks, I had an opportunity to meet with a number of talented candidates and great offensive minds. I'm appreciative of the time I was able to spend with each of them. Some came with years of experience running an offense and calling plays. Others were young, sharp, and dynamic coaches on the rise. I felt it was important to be patient and thorough to allow the right fit to reveal himself to us." Sean did just that. It was quickly apparent in the meeting with Sean that he is a bright young coach with a tremendous future ahead of him in this league. I was impressed by his systematic views on offensive football and his strategic approach. Sean's 11 years in the NFL have provided him a great opportunity to learn and grow alongside some of the best coaches in the game. As a result, he has a wealth of knowledge and experience that will be invaluable to our team moving forward. I can't wait to see Sean with our team, and I want to welcome him and his wife, Megan, to the Eagles family. You hear that from Nick Sirianni. You read it on your screen. You have to be very excited about what he said pertaining to the Eagles process. Nick Sirianni being open-minded because since he took over in 2021, this has been his offense, and this clearly shows that Sirianni is willing to adapt. He's willing to evolve. He's willing to listen to new ideas. That has me very excited. Now, before we get into further detail about Sean Mannion coming to Philadelphia, nobody's doing what we're doing here on Eagles Now, and this is why you subscribe to the channel. The news just broke minutes ago, and here we are talking about it, dissecting it, and we always have you covered when breaking Eagles news goes down, and that's why we're north of 144,000 subscribers. Some notable Mannion experience here. As a player, Nick Sirianni said it himself, he was in the NFL for more than a decade. And during that 11-year stretch, when he was a player, a quarterback, he played under some of the top offensive minds in football today. That list includes Sean McVay, Clint Kubiak, Kevin Stefanski, and Kevin O'Connell. He has coached under Matt LaFluer. Yes, he's an inexperienced coach, and we'll talk more about that here over the next several minutes, but informing his football views on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive background that he has, I think Eagles fans have, over the last couple of days, really come to the idea that they like Sean Mannion as the new offensive coordinator. And over the last few days, his name has started to pick up a lot of steam and a lot of momentum as a serious candidate within this search. And that's why we've been preparing you for this here on the show. As a coach, yeah, he was the offensive assistant for the Packers in 2024. He was a quarterbacks coach and got a quick promotion in 2025. It is a short sample size of what he's done as a coach at the NFL level. But he has helped to develop Jordan Love, who is one of the more efficient quarterbacks in the National Football League this past year. And think about what Malik Willis did as a bust with the Tennessee Titans coming out of Liberty, going to Green Bay, and anytime he's had an opportunity to play over the last 2 years as a backup quarterback, he has played well. He has looked prepared. And this offseason, he might get paid to get a starting opportunity elsewhere. That's what good and elite coaching does. You're able to put your players in a position to succeed, maximize them, have them feeling confident, and that's what Sean Mannion helped to do with the likes of Jordan Love and Malik Willis. And the Eagles clearly see a lot of potential here. It would not surprise me if at some point, if he does well as the offensive play caller and offensive coordinator for the Eagles, if he becomes a head coach for another team, perhaps even the Philadelphia Eagles here. I reached out the other day to a Packers insider, Peter Bukowski, and he had this to say about his dealings with Sean Mannion. And obviously, Bukowski has insight because he's very close to the Packers organization. And this right here is very telling. The Packers think he's a future head coach. They love him. Tom Clements was the quarterback Yoda in Green Bay forever, one of the best quarterback coaches of the modern era. Mannion was the hand-picked successor. He hasn't been coaching long, that's the only thing, but he's a really bright young coach. What's also very telling is how other Packers beat reporters and beat writers, how people within the Packers organization and Packers fans reacted to Mannion interviewing for a second time with the Eagles, and what you're seeing on social media now. They know that they are losing a high-level coach who has a lot of potential. Now, he was never going to become the head coach in the foreseeable future of the Green Bay Packers because Matt LaFluer just got that contract extension even when his job status was in question after the 2025 season. But they knew that he was a rising star. They valued him within that operation, and I think that's of note and very telling here for a Packers organization that has been for a long time, my entire life, one of the most well-run organizations in the National Football League, and an organization that churns out quality coach after quality coach. More background on Mannion. He's only 33 years old. He does have pedigree as a player. His junior year at Oregon State, he was balling. And his senior year, numbers went down a little bit, but at 6'5", big-bodied quarterback with a good arm, he was taken in the third round, 89th overall, the 2015 draft out of Oregon State. He most recently played for the Seattle Seahawks as a backup quarterback in 2023. So he is not far removed from playing in this league. And some people might look at that as a negative. And I can see why, right? The lack of coaching experience. Again, we're going to talk about that. You can also look at it as a positive, right? He has a great feel for what offense is in today's National Football League. And then the coaching background there, of course, Packers offensive assistant in 2024, quarterbacks coach here in 2025. So the pluses of Sean Mannion, he's worked under Matt LaFluer. He played under all of these really high-level offensive minds who have helped to shape what we see on the offensive side of the football around the NFL right now. So the Eagles here could be getting some ingredients of the Matt LaFluer, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Clint Kubiak system. Did you watch Clint Kubiak as the OC for the Seattle Seahawks during this playoff run this past year? Some of the play calls and the play designs were beautiful. Did you watch what Kyle Shanahan did with no team speed and no defense going into the link, wild card round, and knocking off the Eagles and taking down the defending Super Bowl champions? I know that sometimes these coaches, because they're so locked into the play sheet, can struggle with game management, and Sean McVay is one of those. But from a concept's point of view, what Sean McVay does on the offensive side of the ball is gorgeous, and the Eagles haven't been running anything close to that over the last few years. And this is what's really important here. For a guy with no experience, pretty much, coaching at the NFL level, to get a second interview with the Eagles, to be hired by Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, arguably the best owner-GM combo in the sport, he must have blown the Eagles away, and even Nick Sirianni alluded to that in his statement. The minuses of Sean Mannion: it's the limited coaching experience, no play calling experience, and there is no doubt about it, this hire is a risk. So the obvious concern is that aforementioned lack of coaching experience. And now he has to come to the pressure cooker of Philadelphia, and he has to coordinate an offense that has a lot of veterans, and they're not just veterans. We're talking about all pros, Pro Bowlers, veterans who have accomplished a lot in this league individually, but also as a team. This is a team that by next year will be Super Bowl champions as recently as 2024, and the expectations will be sky high for Sean Mannion, but credit to him. All these coaches around the NFL talk. They know that Philadelphia is a tough city to coach in because of the media pressure, the fan pressure. But coaches also know, yeah, if you don't perform well and the offense struggled, you might get your house egged. And you might be the most unpopular man in the city of Philadelphia. But if you win big and if the offense produces, you will springboard and you will become a head coach this time potentially next year. And why I trust the Eagles within this search. This is what Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman do. Think about who they have hired of late, right? And think about what those coaches have done for the Eagles. The last time the Eagles hired a quarterbacks coach from Green Bay with no playing calling experience as head coach, not even offensive coordinator, as head coach, was Andy Reid. And Andy Reid was the right-hand man to Mike Holmgren. He has become one of the best head coaches in the history of the NFL. He played a huge role in the development and the play of Brett Favre. And what did Andy Reid do? 14 years with the Eagles, 5 NFC Championship game appearances, 1 trip to the Super Bowl, and helped to turn the Eagles into the franchise that we see today. Think about who the Eagles also hired in 2016 after they hired Andy Reid in 1999. Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson called plays from time to time, but Andy Reid's always been the primary play caller for the Chiefs. Andy Reid was not at the top of anybody's head coaching hot board. Doug Peterson was not looked at as a viable head coaching candidate. What did Doug Peterson do? Won a Super Bowl in year 2. He learned from the great Andy Reid. Nick Sirianni in 2021 was on nobody's list of some of the premier head coaching candidates. But from that 2021 coaching class, ESPN just voted him the best coach from that class, getting a lot of high praise. And what has Nick Sirianni done? He's won 70% of his games. He made it to a Super Bowl in year 2, like Doug Peterson. Dougie P won. But then he came back and won a Super Bowl in 2024, and he took down Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, denying the Chiefs their quest of a three-peat to do it. I know some people might be panicking here. I know some people might not like this move. But if you live in Philadelphia and if you are a 4-for-4 sports fan, Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, if there's any organization where you trust the guys up top, it's the Eagles organization. They know what they're doing. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, the success speaks for itself. Since 2000, under Lurie's watch, the Eagles have made it to an NFC best 8 NFC championship games. They made it to a Super Bowl in 2004, 2017, 2022, and 2024. They've won 2 rings since 2017. Howie Roseman's been the GM for both of the Super Bowl championships. Again, they had to have been very impressed by what Sean Mannion did. Let's hear from you. Grade the hiring of Sean Mannion here. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of this hiring. More thoughts. Well, let's get to our sponsor. Today's Philadelphia Eagles now made possible thanks to our friends at PrizePicks. Look, the big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next year. So close the season out right with PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Find your community on PrizePicks with the new social feeds feature. You can share PrizePicks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow PrizePicks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. Join the millions of users. Sign up today for America's #1 sports picks app. 4-pick power play for the big game. Drake May, Sam Darnold, more on the passing touchdowns number. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Stephon Diggs, more on the receiving yards number. Download the PrizePicks app today, my people. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. What I want to see from Sean Mannion. Let's talk about it here. This is what I want to see from new Eagles offensive coordinator Sean Mannion. I want to see some modern-day concepts. This Eagles offense, especially last year with Kevin Patullo calling plays, his lack of play calling feel, flow, and rhythm was certainly a problem. But I don't need to see the Eagles running hitch routes into the ground, beating it like a dead horse, right? I want to see some of these modern-day concepts because this Eagles offense at times has become predictable, it's become vanilla, and it's become a high school-like offense at times. I want to see an advanced and creative scheme from Sean Mannion. And given the coaches who he played under, who he has coached under, all of the necessary ingredients from all those offenses, I want to see what Mannion's background and his own experiences and what that leads to him being as a football coach and a play caller and an offensive mind. How does he apply those prior experiences to his now offensive coordinator tenure? I want to see him challenge Jalen Hurts, challenge last year's Super Bowl MVP to think outside of the box, to be tested a little bit. I went back and I watched some of the Jalen Hurts film for 2022 with what Shane Steichen was doing as the play designer and the play caller and the offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is capable of getting back to that level and doing some complex things on the offensive side of the ball. But with Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni, so damn conservative, not really creative or modern day, that needs to change now for this Eagles organization moving forward. And then a big one here, maximize these weapons. There's no reason why Devontae Smith can't put up the numbers and do what a guy like Jackson Smith-Njigba does, because you can make the argument Devontae Smith is better than JSN. But JSN this year had Clint Kubiak designing and calling the plays. He comes from that Kyle Shanahan tree. I want to see Devontae Smith be put into those types of positions from a route concept standpoint, route tree point of view, from a play calling standpoint, so that he can get schemed wide open. How often have we seen Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown schemed open? Not often. It's because the Eagles rely on their special ability, credit to them, to get open, to create opportunities for themselves, make their jobs easier. A guy like Jalen Hurts, give him some wide open throwing lanes and some easy windows to throw into, where there's not a defender within the vicinity of some of these weapons. That's what some of these great coaches are doing these days. The talent is there. Take advantage of it. With a guy like Saquon Barkley, get this run game going. So we flip the page. What's important for Sean Mannion to do as the Eagles offensive coordinator, what's important for Sean Mannion to think about, what's important for this Eagles organization moving forward. Is Lane Johnson going to return? I imagine Sean Mannion had that question during his interview process. What happens with A.J. Brown? Does he get traded, or will Mannion be able to coordinate an offense with one of the top wide receivers in the game on it? What Sean Mannion has to do, what you see around the NFL playoffs right now, a lot of these teams who made deep runs, who have had good offensive production, what do they have? A run game. What happened with the Eagles last year? Best running game in football. This year, it was middle of the pack. It has to get better, and Howie Roseman has to address the major questions along the offensive line. For Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens, was it just injury problems, or do you need to address center and left guard? Is Lane Johnson going to come back at right tackle, as I mentioned and proposed? Is Jordan Mailata all right, or was he tired from a 2024 season in which the Eagles ran the ball a lot? Those are some things that Sean Mannion has to think about and apply. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed today's show. When breaking news goes down, we're always going to be here for the Bird Gang, serving it up for the best fans in professional sports. And don't forget to give me a follow on social media, X, Instagram, TikTok, at Chase_Senior. You can find me on Facebook, Chase Senior Chat Sports. Right when this hiring happened, I gave you an instant reaction video. This is just what we do.